Welcome back to The Experience, everybody. I am your host, Eric Falgu, and today I have my special guest, Vincent Milligan. He's one of my old friends that I worked with a long time ago when I worked for a hair company called Rusk. We met on a site learning at a place called Beauty Lounge, which is a former employer of mine where we worked and studied and learned how to become hair color educators for that company. It's been about 11 years since me and Vincent worked together, and since then we've kept in touch through Facebook, social media, things like that. He's since moved to my city, New Orleans, and he's been doing very well for himself. And Vincent, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Eric. I'm excited.
I'm a little pumped up too, yeah. Still, it's episode 5, man, so no pressure, but it's all on you.
Right, I know.
I
feel the pressure.
Yeah, it's weird, huh? Kind of having because
it's really cool though.
It's a weird thing. Everybody was like, "Why do you want to do audio and video?" And I was like, "Because I want to have it all."
Oh yeah,
I mean,
definitely need the video if you're gonna have the audio.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Not every, some podcasts they're might be talking about something boring, for that second or 2 or 3. And, but if you see it, maybe
people want to see what they're hearing.
Right. Kind of like the lights we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, but it's not I'm not that smart. It's not, what you called it earlier?
Oh, chemical compound.
Yeah. Chemical compound. Yeah. Shit. I wish I would have thought of that. Somebody did ask me that though. And, no, man, it's
or a mineral.
Yeah, or a mineral. It was really supposed to be the little finger sign like that, which I guess is like cowabunga. I don't know.
Hang loose.
Yeah. So what's been up, man?
Well, a lot. It's been since 2010. So anyway, I guess I'll just start with in 2016, there was a flood in Baton Rouge that was pretty devastating all around. And because of various reasons, including the fact that the salon that I worked at was flooded and things, I had to move. And a long story short, I ended up here in New Orleans.
Right.
So that was a blessing that I didn't realize at first.
Right. Are you born and raised in Baton Rouge?
Yes, I'm born and raised in Baton Rouge. I've moved around quite a bit. I don't know if I should get into that today because we don't have forever. It's not a biography,
yeah.
But anyway,
jump around. It's ADHD. Whatever you.
Right. Well, I in 2000. In 2000 or so, I was in a bad car accident because I had a salon in Baton Rouge and I was making a lot of money and there's nothing to do in Baton Rouge. So I ended up having an apartment here in New Orleans in the French Quarter. And one night I ended up coming here when I wasn't supposed to because I told myself that I wouldn't come on a work night.
Right.
And I came on a Friday night and I got up early in the morning to drive back to Baton Rouge and somebody hit the side of my car at Carrollton and Canal and flipped it over into the median, into the streetcar line. And I don't even remember anything except for thinking, oh shit, did I just get hit? And I looked up.
What time was it?
Oh, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. Dude. And thinking, I looked up and the light was green and I was thinking, no, I didn't get hit. And the next thing I know, I wake up in the hospital a couple of days later. They had to cut me out with the jaws of life. It was pretty bad.
Right.
And so then I moved to, I ended up selling everything I had and moved to Guadalajara, Mexico, where I knew I could afford to live for quite a long time on the money. And then I moved to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
Nice.
I lived there a couple of years. It was nice. And then I met someone, and after dating a while, I ended up in Venice Beach, California.
Okay. Wow.
Yes, and he had a couple of restaurants there, and we would go to Palm Springs on the weekends, so I was in Palm Springs also.
Right.
And then when things ended, I didn't want to come back home, so I ended up in Oklahoma City, where some friends were like, oh, come to Oklahoma City, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Well, the saying is there's nothing but queers and steers in Oklahoma, but there's only steers, because it's a very boring place. And the club to go out is a hotel, and there's like three crappy bars with about 5 people in each of them back then. But I ended up being the manager for Regis Hair Salon in Penn Square Mall,
Right.
which was pretty good. I mean, the salary was really kind of low, but I guess it's not low compared to what people make now. But I made like $200 in tips a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Over there?
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
And there was all kind of incentives. So had I stayed, I would have gone on trips to Italy. And
where was that?
This was in Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City's built up quite a lot since, but it, like you said, it's still not
well, this
here.
was pre-Katrina, so this was
Wow.
2004 and 2000. I came back in 2005.
Okay.
And I mean, it was pretty busy over there. But when I started hearing about tornadoes and blizzards and stuff, I was like,
Right.
well, at least I know when a hurricane's coming. So I'm moving
Right.
back to Louisiana. So then I moved back, I think around March or April, and then that was the year that Katrina hit.
Right.
And so anyway,
I mean, you could hear tornadoes, sort of.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a good thing if you hear it or not.
It was so boring there. It sucked.
Yeah,
I was like,
I've been. One of my buddies moved out there, and I was fascinated with how clean it was because
It was
that was
clean.
that was back when I smoked cigarettes, and I went to throw the cigarette butt, and I was like, shit, they don't have anything on the ground. So I just like kept it on me the whole time, and I was like, man, this is, but it was kind of.
super cheap to live too. Super cheap.
Yeah. Well,
But that's because no one wants to live there.
yeah, and it was weird. It was like his, you lived in a really nice, like, gated neighborhood, but it was like 6 minutes from the city, which, over here would be beautiful, but it was different over there. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty spread out. I mean, there's 5 malls there.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. Are they nice?
No, only the
Yeah.
one I worked at.
Oh, shit.
It
Oh,
was
shit.
the newest one.
So after Regis, and you moved?
Well, then I moved back to Baton Rouge, and
Okay.
and then Katrina hit, and
Right.
then it's just I got stuck in Baton Rouge because I was from there, and I started making money again really quickly once I moved back there, and so. It was like a long road. There's nothing in Baton Rouge. I was with someone for over 5 years who was a crackhead and a meth head behind my back, and
Right.
ended up running me into a really bad situation and running my spirit down and everything.
Right.
So,
And your bank account?
oh yeah, my bank account. My
Yeah.
bank account
Yeah.
was pretty bad.
Right,
Every time
right.
I built it up, it was some new shit.
Right.
And anyway, finally, when I got him out of the house, I got a notice to vacate the next day. And I'd been giving him the money for rent, even though I was stupid, I guess, to do that. But I haven't had a checkbook since 1999. I've just used
Right.
my debit card, and
Right,
he wrote
right.
the checks, and I just
Right.
gave him the cash.
Right.
So for 3 months, he wasn't even paying the bills, and borrowing money. And come to find out, after when he said he didn't have that much money, this and that, even though he was retired IBM vice president,
Okay.
he left his tax returns, and I found out that he had $5,200 a month pension and everything. Yeah. So anyway, once I got rid of him, I kind of went into a depression. I
Right.
got down on myself and everything, and so I didn't want to leave Baton Rouge because I was making so much money, and I
Right.
had a nice place and everything.
And you
I
built
had
your career back
I
up.
built my career back up and everything, but I did kind of pray for a flood. So when the flood did happen, I mean, I was thinking about Katrina. Yeah.
Right.
I was thinking, God, even if there's a flood like Katrina, just get me the hell out of here. And
What year is it at this point? 2016?
2016, yeah.
2016. Right.
Yes. So then it came, and I didn't know what to do, but I ended up here, and that was one of the best things that I could have done.
So after 2016, they had another hurricane. Is that what happened? You're saying?
No. It was just a summer storm,
Right.
that they weren't looking for. But what happened is the Port City Council, just like what happens to a lot of cities, poor city planning,
Right.
And after Katrina, the insurance companies sent lobbyists to the legislature and made all these new laws. So the neighborhoods had to be built to a certain standard and a certain height.
Correct.
And all the new neighborhoods were on the edges of Baton Rouge, not in the middle, which had never flooded ever.
Correct.
And so it created basically, I call it a fish bowl.
Right.
So once we had a heavy rain, they didn't dredge the bayous. They didn't dredge any of the drainage. Bayou St. John is the main one that goes through. But is it Bayou St. John? I don't. Don't quote me.
Yeah,
I don't know,
New
but
Orleans.
there's through Baton Rouge
Through
too.
Baton Rouge, yes, correct.
Bayou Fountain and a few other bayous that the drainage goes through, and they didn't dredge those.
Right.
They didn't dredge the Comeet or the Amite River or any of that. Even though they were building all of these huge neighborhoods, they weren't creating enough drainage.
Right.
And that became apparent once we had a big storm and a lot of rain in a 2 or 3 day period. And anyway, that flooded Baton Rouge.
Right. Didn't that flood like was it Prairieville? Like a lot of
flooded all the way to Prairieville.
Yeah. So
flooded,
a lot of places got like
flooded through Zachary, flooded through Central, flooded the whole Baton Rouge metro area, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, because now it's like, we just had this last Hurricane Ida, and Baton Rouge not nothing happened. So
and they had a little bit of damage, but not like
But do you feel
before.
like if there's like another hard flood, it's gonna?
Well, I think they worked on it.
Gotcha,
I think they worked on it.
Yeah, because I know like tons of people live in Prairieville now, and it's like built up.
Yeah,
and I'm like, shit,
yeah.
So it's kind of scary.
Right.
So how long you been living in New Orleans now?
5 years. Damn, 5 years. I moved here October 18th, 2016.
Dude, I remember when you like posted it, and I was like, holy shit, man, he's like taking the leap, because I've worked in the city a few times, and I just always feel like it's so hard to build and
clientele. Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
It's not like I don't feel like I'm a great hairstylist or something like that. It's just it's
oversaturated.
Oversaturated. And it's not a big city.
No, it's
you
not
go
a
to
big
other
city.
cities.
I call it a town. It's not even really a city.
Did you when you were living in like Mexico, did you do hair at all, or were you just living?
Yeah,
it
I
up?
did hair, but I actually lived off of. I worked in a jewelry gallery. I was an illegal alien in Mexico.
Yeah, because technically, I guess you would need a license to do hair.
Oh yeah, you need a license.
So,
you need all kind of cards and
passports.
And things. Oh yeah, all of that stuff. Well, you didn't need a passport then.
Gotcha.
But you had to come. I was supposed to come back every 120 days and stay for like 2 weeks.
Yes,
but I didn't. So that's when I became illegal.
Right. Were they looking for you?
Probably. Who knows?
Yeah. And what like caused you to like end up moving back to the States from there if you were kind of?
Well, I met someone.
Okay, gotcha.
And we ended up dating for quite a while.
Right. And talked you back into.
Right. Coming back to California.
They always do that. Oh yeah, well California's
only
not
time
bad.
I've ever moved for a man, so it won't happen again.
Yeah.
Don't ever move for a man.
Yeah.
Don't ever move for a woman.
How was they're both crazy. How was LA?
LA was really great for me because he had a couple of restaurants, so money was not a big deal.
Right.
But when we broke up, I had to move because I couldn't afford to live there anymore.
Right. And that was shit.
That was 2001.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was just as bad then as it is now as far as like expenses. And,
it was very expensive.
Yeah.
Not as bad as now, but I could probably, it's all relative.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, which this may not sound like a big deal, but it was because I remember a chicken at Gelson's grocery store, which is this popular grocery store there. It was organic and very small.
Right.
And it was like almost $9.
A real chicken?
I was like, yes, a whole chicken. Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, because it was like $1.54 here, something ridiculous,
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, I don't know how people live here. But then a lot of people have 3 and 4 and 5 roommates. It just depends.
I've heard of that, especially in San Fran, huh? Like a lot of people like live together just because
it's completely ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because, you can't afford a house.
Right. And, in LA, it's all about the look.
Right.
Everybody wants to be an actor, or if you want to meet anyone, then you have to have certain clothes and certain, the status, cars, whatever.
Did you try to do any acting while you were out there? Or? No, not your thing. What about hair, man? I mean, well, you were running restaurants.
I've been a freelance artist since 2000.
Nice. Damn, dude.
So yeah, I mean, I did a couple of low level. Well, I don't want to say low level movie stars, but like Fred Savage's mom on The Wonder Years,
yes.
Annie. She was super nice. She lived on the Venice canals, and she was a friend of my ex. And I did her hair, and I did a few people's hair, but I was making like $95 a haircut back then.
Dude,
and,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that was great, but that was nice extra money and everything. But
Right,
I didn't work in a salon because I was oh God, I don't even remember the salon that I was hired to go work at, but it was in a store, Fred Siegel's Day Spa on Santa Monica Boulevard. And
Nice.
I just would, every time I would go to get my feet done or whatever, they would say, when are you coming to work? I'm like, oh, we're going, it's here, we're going there when we get back. And I just never went to work. That's why I didn't have the wherewithal to stay around. And I don't know if I would have stayed there or not when we broke up. I don't know. I don't know. It was easier to just leave.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you would have really wanted to stay, you'd still be there.
Right.
Right. So I guess it's all meant to happen. How it's supposed to happen. Now, when you got in that wreck, you owned your own salon?
Yes.
Wow. So you just sold it?
Yes. Everything.
What made you do that?
Well, because I had a brain injury and I had double vision. And so I tried to work with the double vision because when I tilted my head a certain way, I could see straight, but it took me longer to do a haircut. And I would be so exhausted. I would sleep in between clients and have my assistant wake me up when she got finished shampooing people. Yeah. So it just got to be more and more difficult.
So it totally fucked up your body.
Yes.
Jesus,
it did.
dude.
And it didn't come back completely for 2 years.
Right. But now, like when you're cutting or whatever, you can.
Oh yeah, now it's perfect, and I have 20/20 vision still. Knock on wood.
Yeah, man.
And it's not going anywhere according to the doctors. But I mean, I still, if I lay on my left side to watch television, like if you're laying on the sofa or whatever, it kind of splits a little bit.
Right.
But not really so much anymore. It's almost normal, but I'll say it's 95%.
So you're very lucky, man.
Yeah, I am very lucky because I didn't think it was ever going to come back. First they told me 2 weeks, then 6 weeks, then it was 6 months, and it was like.
How long did it last?
2 years. Yeah.
Shit, man. And I mean, when people, they think of like hairstylists or barbers, like, we don't get paid by the hour, we get paid by the haircut or the color service. So it's a lot different when you can't do that many customers per day.
When I couldn't keep up and I was losing clients and stuff.
Especially when you're used to making that kind of volume.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I was still, I love to go out and dance and party on the weekends and stuff and all the circuit parties.
Rock and roll, dude.
Right.
Yeah, that's what
I was still
man.
into that. And oh my God, if I would go out and when my ecstasy would hit, it was just like a whole explosion.
Oh yeah.
I guess it's kind of like being on acid because all the lights were just blurring and everything, and I would just be dancing in one spot. Unless I had to go to the restroom, then I had to get somebody to bring me.
Right. So taking the different drugs with the head injury, it would, I guess, enhance it a little bit.
In a way,
yeah. Shit,
it might have kept it acting longer. I don't know. It might have kept it lasting longer.
Yeah. I mean, who knows,
I didn't really care then.
Yeah, it might have. Well, with the psilocybin and all the stuff they're talking about nowadays, who knows, man? It might have opened up the pathways of your brain. It might
maybe.
Yeah. I mean, who knows?
I don't know what it did. It did something.
Yeah. Felt good.
All I know is I had a great time. So that's all that mattered.
That's all that matters. So lately, what have you been doing, man? I've been checking you out on Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, well, I just got finished running a campaign for city council. That was a lot of work.
Yep.
It was a lot of fun. I met a lot of people and everything, and I learned a lot of things. I didn't win, which I didn't really expect to win, but at least I got to say the things that I wanted to say.
Right.
And I have still quite a bit of a following, and even though I didn't win, I still plan to hold our city council member and the mayor as accountable as I can, because really, we're supposed to be the ones that they're working for, but they consider us like they're peasants or whatever here in New Orleans, because they definitely do not listen to what the people want.
Right.
But anyway, I'm just going to do my best to try to block some of their taxes and things, because and some of their ordinances that they make. I mean, they're making ordinances that don't work for the citizens of New Orleans, obviously, because the city's been turning to crap for several years.
Right.
So I'm gonna get my groups together and hopefully we can get some things changed.
So I thought that was pretty badass when I saw you even running for that, because I was like, shit, man, I thought he cut hair, but what got you into that?
Thank you.
Because
it's a little bit of a journey, but what got me into it are a couple of things. my partner owns a couple of shoe boutiques in the French Quarter, Shooby Doo, and
Nice.
Nola Foot Candy.
Shout out.
Yes, on charters. One is on charters, and one is on in the Pontabla. And the Pontabla is owned by the city. It's one side, and one side is owned by the state.
Right.
But where he has his store is owned by the city, and it was a big rigmarole to get the space. He had to go in front of the French Quarter Association, and it took him like 8 or 9 months. It was the space was empty. That's
all the
how
permits, right?
No, not even the permits.
Okay.
Just to get them to listen to the people who wanted to get in there, because the motto in New Orleans is just hurry up to slow down, and so they have a fiduciary duty to the citizens of New Orleans to keep those spaces busy,
Right.
and bring the money in for the city, to put towards the things that the people need. Well, they don't really care about that because they have the French Quarter Association handling that. And why it took so long to get to the city council, I have no idea. But I do know that during the process that once it did get to the city council, and Kristen Palmer, who was a council member of District C, where it's in, she asked in 8 months. She's like, "Why is it taking like almost a year to get this handled? Because this is costing us money." Nobody had an answer, of course. And so then when they went through the process, I was thinking, well, shit, I could do this. I mean, some of those people were a bunch of idiots.
Right.
And then I live in the building with the Sanger Theater in the LaSalle Apartments, and there was the collapse of the Hard Rock Hotel.
Right.
And we were rushed out of our apartment with just 5 minutes to get my things together. And I had just gone through a year's worth of surgeries on my foot. And I literally had a halo removed the day before, thinking I'm going to have, now things are going to get much better.
Right.
I could start to work again and make money and everything's
Right.
going to be happy. Well, no, I couldn't get all of my equipment out of the apartment in 5 minutes. And we were out of our apartments for what equal like close to almost 6-7 weeks, almost 2 months.
Without being able to go back in.
Well, okay, so we were out of there for a month before I could go back in. But then
still,
the gas wasn't on. So my gas runs everything in my apartment, the dryer, the dishwasher, the shower, the stove. And yeah, it was a mess. So we've yet to be compensated for that. If I would have won city council, the first thing I would have done is had Callias come in the office, who is the head of 1201 Canal Consortium, and he's the one who was the guy who plotted and planned the whole hotel collapse situation. And I would have taken any permits that he had left and told him he wasn't ever going to have another permit in New Orleans again. And he's nothing but a slumlord. And I hope this gets out there because I said it during my campaign on the radio too.
Right.
Nothing's been done to him. He's definitely is guilty of negligent homicide. He's gotten away from it allegedly because of waiting too long in the I forget what it's called, but it's when you wait out the law and I know there's a very I know
term.
It's a technical term. I can't believe I can't
you'll know
remember
it better
it.
than me. Hey man, you're doing great.
Yeah, but anyway, so he and his partners have gotten away with murder basically, and costing everyone around their businesses and inconvenience us out of our homes and hasn't paid a cent. And then he said, a couple of weeks after the hotel was finally cleared out, that he acted like he was about to go open another hotel there or start another hotel there, without even ever compensating the people. People in the whole area had to leave their homes and things, and that was a big inconvenience. And I don't even know how they will allow him to ever build anything here again, but they will. They will. So with those things happening, I got really, really pissed off. Then during COVID, when the French Market merchants had to go in front of the city council, all the people that rented their spaces from the city council had to go. I mean, from the city had to go in front of the council to get a rent reduction. Mm-hmm. So when they were going to get the rent reduction, the plan that the city came out with was definitely out of control. There's no way that they could have done that. They wanted full rent starting in June. And wait, let me see. April, May, June. In July. They wanted full rent starting in July. Well, they already
hit in like February.
Yes, and they shut down mid-March, so that's the busiest season of the year. So they weren't even open at the time that they could make the most money. Not to mention that my partner, in general, but I'm sure many others, we went to Las Vegas and bought hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of merchandise for that season to come in, and it came in during lockdown. So there was a couple of $100,000 sitting around for a year that didn't make any money, and they wanted us to take all this money and just pay them rent when nobody comes into the city in the summer because it's too hot.
Correct.
And anyway, after 7 meetings, finally they came to an agreement. And I thought that this is a damn shame that, the city that you trust to make your income, that they're your landlords and all of that, have turned against you. Why would you have to fight to get an agreement for rental when they cut the city off? They cut the city, they closed it and everything. So, I decided this is wrong. There's too much corruption going on in this city, and the people that are elected aren't actually working for the people of their districts. They're working for the city.
Right.
And that's not how the government works.
Right,
so
when good old boy politics.
Yeah, it's good old boy, typical Louisiana, New Orleans is the worst.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it was time to qualify and everything, I had gotten some support and ideas, and I really liked Claston Bernard when he was running for District 2, and I met him at a couple of different events that I went to, and he encouraged me and gave me some tips and things. So I thought, well, why not?
Right. I mean, had you ever done anything like that before?
No.
But
it was an open seat because Kristen Palmer, who was the incumbent, she decided to run for the at-large seat, which she didn't win.
Okay.
But that's another story.
You don't have to be a part of to be a council member. Like you didn't have to be doing a specific job.
It would have helped. It would have helped if I was already a Democrat and was working in the city or something and everything. But I ran on a no party platform because I've been no party ever since I signed up to vote when I was 18. And I ran on the issues and not a party platform. And I told everyone, I said, you can run on a party platform, but what's it doing for you? What's it doing for the city? What's it doing for America?
Right.
A bullet doesn't have a party affiliation. A pothole doesn't have a party affiliation, and neither does flooding or violent crime. None of the things that are going on in the city that need to be fixed have a party affiliation. Right. It's an issue that needs to be worked on, and people should be working together to do that.
Well, I commend you for even having the brass to do it, man, because have you always been interested in things like that? You seem very educated
not really.
On it, and I just started trying to learn more about politics since I'm 36. I hate it, but obviously I need to understand it.
Right. And, that's about the age that you start to realize.
Pay attention.
Yes, because, it's good to be young and blissfully ignorant, because you don't want to be involved in all of that and have it keeping you up at night and worrying and so forth. But, definitely in your mid to late 30s, you need to start getting more involved, because it definitely affects if it affects nothing else, it affects your paycheck. But now it's affecting, the way that we live, the way that we go places and do things. And so you have to be more involved, especially now, because the government has taken advantage of the fact that people are blissfully ignorant of politics and what's going on.
Right.
And so what happened over the several years that I've been here, when I moved here, I decided I wasn't going to work in a salon because I wanted to work on myself, and that's what I did. And I worked on myself in many different ways, and I learned meditation, and I became more spiritual and more centered in everything. And so that helped me a lot. But also my hobby now, instead of going out and partying and doing things that I used to do that were counterproductive and destructive, I read a lot. Right. And it's really easy to read when you're bored or whatever, because you always have your phone with you. So it doesn't really take a whole lot to start reading and catching on to what's going on, especially if you have, they call it an IQ, a high IQ, but you don't need a high IQ to have critical thinking skills.
Yes.
And you just have to be able to figure out and read between the lines what's really going on, by reading this and that. And people try to tell me, oh, well, you listen to Fox News and this and that. And no, I really don't even watch TV. I don't watch Fox News. I read articles from all over the world. And
you're educating yourself.
Yes, right. I'm educating myself every day. And I don't just get it from one news source or one politically leaning news source, you know?
Correct.
So I read studies, I read research, I read a lot of, I don't even know what all I read, to be honest.
Yeah,
I just research one thing and go to another and another until I get what's really going on, because I don't just listen to a headline. I read the article and then I go looking for the source.
Well, and that's the problem. Like nowadays, like I hate watching the news because I just feel like it's some of it just doesn't make sense to me, because I'm not the smartest tool in the shed, but I can tell when something seems off.
Well,
and it's just like, when do you, like, what's real? Because they keep telling us this, they keep telling us that. And
it's all lies.
Yeah, I have like a lot of that intuition, I call it, or that gut feeling. And, that's what they taught me in the program. And I don't know, man. I just, I've tried to be like you now, like, because you've inspired me to start like wanting to learn and educate myself more. And so I definitely dive in deeper into the reading versus like watching what's on the tube.
You know what? Just pick any TV station and watch it every day at the same time in New Orleans, the news, and they don't even give you national news. There'll be a little clip of something going on. But there's no in-depth news. In fact, that's the reason why we had such a low turnout for the elections, both the primary and the main election, because the news did not report on that there was an election going on.
It almost felt like a silent auction, man. Like I had no idea that we had a new mayor, which was the same mayor that we have now, Latoya. And I was like, wait, they already had an election? Because I asked you, and you were like, yeah, man, it's over. And I was like, holy shit.
You're not the only one.
Yeah, it wasn't a big deal.
No.
And I thought that shit like that was supposed to be a big deal. So, even with the presidential election, everything, it was my first time voting. And it was a cool experience, I must say, because I felt like I was taking part and doing my part, even though I always feel like it doesn't count.
Your civil duty.
Yeah. And just the way that everything happened, I guess, with this whole election up into the election for mayor, it's just been a shit show, man.
It's disappointing.
Yeah.
Very disappointing.
It's
the first time in history these kind of things have happened like that.
Yeah. And kind of going back to what you said about people, being not misinformed, but just not, knowing enough about politics. So, the government's taking advantage. I definitely feel like a lot of people are not paying attention.
People aren't paying attention.
Yeah, like people need to wake the fuck up.
They're starting to. They're calling it the awakening, because more and more people are having to become, newsworthy. They have to figure out what's going on. And the local news is not going to tell you. The local news is definitely not going to tell you. They insulate the city government, and they are always on the mayor's side. Mm-hmm. They do report a lot, because I've gotten a lot of articles on the corruption going on in New Orleans, and I'm putting them all together, and it's all local news, but it's always hidden in on the internet. It's always just a little snippet, and I have a couple of news apps. One of them is a local and countrywide, but they're always little small articles that people don't read and things, like. So
you want to read in between the little stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you read all of the articles. Like not long ago, everybody's talking about how great Latoya is. Latoya is a crook.
Right.
Everybody tells me I'm not supposed to say that word, but that's exactly what it is. She's completely corrupt, because let's say we all knew that she didn't have any money when she got in office, because right afterwards she was in the hole for $95,000 with the IRS.
Right.
It's paid.
I heard that not on the news, even though but I heard that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, Google her net worth right now. I mean, you can pick up your phone and Google it right now. It's $5 million.
Wow.
So how does she make $5 million in 3.5 years? She doesn't have a business. She doesn't have anything.
Well, what does a mayor salary get paid?
$140,000, $139,000.
Right. Times 3 is not
no.
That's like
no matter what you invested in, unless you took her whole paycheck and invested in Tesla all this time.
Right. Or she maybe went to Harrah's and put it all on black or red. I don't even know.
Right. More like she put it on the new Riverside Entertainment District.
Right on. Yeah. Is that the thing in Slidell?
No. There's going to be a new Riverside Entertainment District here in New Orleans, and she's in control of all of that and who's the contractor and so forth.
And Riverside is
going to be next to the convention center and to Mardi Gras World.
Okay.
That area is going to be a whole new district. There may be a new casino there. I don't know about that, but there's going to be like 1 or 2 hotels. Right. There's going to be
I heard about the one in
restaurants.
Slidell. That
that didn't pass.
Okay, gotcha.
That was December 11th. It didn't pass.
Good.
Yeah, and so anyway, like one of the articles I read not long ago was how the convention center needs a remodel, and there's $557 million contract. And all of the bids, she decided to give it to someone, and then the other bidders are suing the city because she gave a $557 million contract to someone who's not even licensed.
Right.
So
I've actually heard this too, man.
Little thing that she's done. There's a whole pile of them. I mean, like if you look back in the very beginning, I think her first year of her term, she took 35 people, one including Jay Banks, which was her good buddy, who's just got voted out because he was such an arrogant ass. But she took 35 people and herself to Cuba to study their education and health system. Huh. They don't have either one.
Right.
The island's illiterate.
Right.
You can Google that.
Right.
And they don't have any healthcare system. Huh. None. I mean, if you're sick, you better hope you don't die.
Right.
Because there's not much hospitalization or anything there.
Right. They still have cars from like 1957 over there.
Right. They have some great scientists though, because they had some scientists connecting with China to make some kind of, I think they may have come out with the Redisomere. I don't know. It was something like that. It was a previous.
What's Redisomere?
Redisomere was one of the infusions that they give you when you're hospitalized with COVID.
Okay.
But hepatitis. They used the interferon technology mixed with something else, and was supposed to create a cure or a treatment for COVID, but I haven't heard about it, but I read about it. But there's nothing going on in Cuba. If you look at a documentary on Cuba, they have the grocery store only open 1 day a week. Wow. It's only the same things in there all the time. They don't have
it's ran a little differently, right?
Oh yeah.
It's and
they don't have fresh produce. They don't have the things that we have here. The people hardly make any money.
The government takes care of them, so to speak, right? Like they're all on a fixed
I don't think that's the way it works.
Isn't that no money? It's all about the money.
Yeah, the government has the money, and the people that live there don't.
Right.
Just like Venezuela now.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, that came from their socialism, and it basically turned to communism. But unlike Russia and China, no, they don't. They do not take care of their people like that.
Right.
I mean, like they make whatever job they're doing, whatever, is like $20 a week.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you are caught without your identification and given a ticket, it's a $200 ticket. Takes a long time to pay that ticket off, or you go to jail.
Shit.
Yeah.
Golly, man, that's a lot of haircuts for me.
Oh yeah, their main GDP is prostitution.
Wow. In Cuba, like that, huh?
Oh yeah, I mean that's the main way that the people in Cuba make money off of the tourists, because they are prostitutes mainly. Wow. Female and male.
Wow.
I've had friends that's gone there that said that they could get, a prostitute for a polo shirt.
Wow. Huh. You don't even have to give money.
No money.
Oh,
Bring a box full of shirts.
Shit. You'd have a dozen of them.
Yeah, have a good time.
So what's your plan right now? I know you said, I was asking you before we started filming that it's a 4-year term, right? So what are you going to do for the next 4 years, man? Because you seem very fired up, which I love. I could see it in your eyes that you have the eye of the tiger, man, which makes me want to feel like I need to do something. But what's the plan next? What do you do? What's going on?
I just am trying to keep people informed on what's going on. I've been kind of a little bit of not behind on doing that because I had campaign fatigue. I mean, it was a lot of work, you know, every day going to meet people, filling out interviews and questionnaires and Zoom meetings and everything.
Wow.
But I'm still trying to keep people informed of what's going on. We have I'm trying to build more people into my pages, especially the Take Back Our City page, where it's very informative of what's going on in the city. There's a lot of people who are supporting it, and they add to it too. And I ask anyone that's out there listening to your program to join our Take Back Our City page on Facebook, and we have a tax problem coming up soon, a new tax millage.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
Yes,
yeah,
that Helena Morena.
Get into that.
Right. That Helena Morena is introducing, and her secretary told me that it was due to some child care situation. She didn't explain it too well, but it's supposed to be for child care, which I don't understand because the city is not responsible for child care, and Joe Biden's already giving people $300 per child for child care, tax break or the cash. And so the people of New Orleans should not be paying for people's child care that they do not have. Property owners should not be paying for that and a lot of other things, but they are. And we need to get a group together and go in front of the council and tell them we're not paying any more taxes. We're not approving any more taxes. We're not approving any more past taxes. We're not improving anything until there's some improvements in the city.
Who votes? Is this the citizens that vote on these types of bills that pass? Right.
And you have to be careful because you have to know what the city council is doing because they slip things in really quick without a large turnover.
I've heard that.
And then they turn to their base to help them support it because they put it out there as one thing and it usually is never that thing. Kind of like what happened recently with the previously in the year with the library millages and LaToya because there was a big ordeal about who was going to vote for this new tax and so forth and so on. And anyway, it ended up getting turned down, and then it was reintroduced and approved because that way LaToya, it was going straight to the library instead of to LaToya's general fund, which a lot of things go to her general fund. I could speak on that all day.
Right.
But the thing is that like this one, Helena Morena is introducing as a new ordinance to New Orleans tax laws. And I think it's going to be a 30-year law. So that's a long time to add another millage to an increase to the tax bill for your home properties tax because it's already expensive.
Holy shit.
Yeah, because it's only 1.5, I think, or somewhere in that area, which sounds low, but the homes of New Orleans are 200,000 to 2 million plus.
Correct.
So then that's a lot of money.
Right. And I mean, how does one gauge that per city? Like, how does, what's the proper way to actually come up with a tax for stuff like that?
They don't. Here, they just decide and they add it.
Right.
Just like the problem with people reelecting Errol Williams as the tax assessor, is that a lot of people, the older people, they have their property tax frozen at a certain age.
Okay.
And they're still voting for him because it doesn't affect them. And that's another problem that we have in New Orleans is that people will vote for people running for election and different things going on in New Orleans because it doesn't affect them. But it still will affect them in the future, and it does affect other people.
Right.
And they need to keep that in mind.
Right.
If you don't know what you're voting for, then figure it out before you vote for it. And if you don't know who you're voting for, do the research and find out before you vote for them, because he is just a lapdog for LaToya, and he costs with the way that they go around accumulating the property value of homes is they just go around and look in the area and look at the home. If the home needs repair, they think, well, it's going to be just a few thousand less than this home that's brand new or this home that just sold or whatever. They do not assess the property properly. Wow. And there's still a lot of properties that are 501Cs in New Orleans, and that's one thing that LaToya did do that's smart, is that she started having the tax assessors. She created a special office or committee, so forth, for that. And going out to these properties that have been listed 501Cs since before Katrina, and they're no longer 501Cs. Those charitable companies or charitable associations sold them to private citizens, and they've been going on not paying taxes on that for a long time. Wow. So, there's still a lot of those out there that need to be adjusted, and they need to get money off of that instead of going after the typical homeowner. I mean, they raised property value in the Treme 400% because of the Airbnb situation, but that outpriced people out of their homes. They're running people out of their homes with these tax assessments.
Right. You've done a shitload of homework, man.
Well, I mean, so a lot of it is personal too, because Andre bought a home for a certain amount of money, and it was undervalued, especially for the street. Gotcha. And that was just a deal that he got because the previous owner was a 92-year-old woman, and she had remodeled the home and didn't live in it, and her nephew took over. So I guess he decided, whatever money I get is better than no money. Right. And it started a couple of $100,000 more than what he paid for it, but the tax assessor still, after spending over an hour with the tax assessor, the first day that you can go and debate your tax situation, and that's another thing, I've never heard of debating your tax, but you do go appeal it and so forth, and talk to them, and then they'll deliberate on it. And finally, after they deliberated on it, and he spoke to him for over an hour, the very first day at 8:30 in the morning, we were there. Then what was it? 6 weeks? About 6 weeks. Then it's still over $100,000 more than he paid for it. He's having to pay taxes on, and I mean, just because they decide that's the value doesn't mean that the value the value. The person that's buying it now should be paying higher taxes. Not you should pay the taxes on what you pay for the property, not supposedly what it's worth. Right,
and that's. Goes back to saying, recapping what you said, a lot of it's corrupt, and it's not right.
I call it the New Orleans political crime syndicate, because they all have their hands in each other's pockets, and when it's time to run, they have all of these fundraisers for each other and so forth. Right. I mean, poor LaToya, her friend Jay Banks didn't win. He's one of the ones that she took with him on a free trip. Well, not free. The taxpayers paid for it to Cuba, one of the 35 people. So was Karen Peterson Carter, who was trying to become the new state representative when she's a senator for Louisiana already, because she burned her bridges in Baton Rouge, and she and LaToya are big friends. So I guess they were really going to be dipping their hands in the new entertainment district. But anyway, she didn't win either. So good for her.
So who, as of right now, besides LaToya as mayor, who do we have running in your spot that you were going for?
Well, okay, so Freddie King just won there, and he went. And the thing is that this is the first time this has ever happened. But we all there were 7 of us: Freddie King, myself, Alonzo Knox, Sheila. I can't remember her last name right now. Frank Perez, Steve Musgrove, and Shirley. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank right now.
It's all good, man.
But anyway,
you've been spot on since we started, so I'll cut you some slack. Bridges is her last name. I'm sorry. I don't remember. Yeah.
But yes. Good, so anyway, there was a runoff between Freddie King and Stephanie Bridges. That's it. Stephanie Bridges. Gotcha. Sorry. It's been a very long day. And we all of us put our effort and support behind Stephanie Bridges against Freddie King, because Freddie King has all the endorsements of the past part of the political crime syndicate this year, and Troy Carter, Gary Carter.
How long has he been in office?
Well, they both were councilmen in District C, and the same problems that were there when they were councilmen in District C are still there, and will still be there in 4 years and probably 8 years too, because the guy that is that one out of those people, we put our support behind Stephanie, and still Freddie King won by a high percentage. But I called him. I let me preface it by saying I like Freddie King. He seems like a really nice person. He's got a nice family. He has 4 children. Seems like one brand new baby, and I think the oldest one is 5 or 6. So he's really busy, and he's been on like every kind of a council there is, or board that there is, a chairing it, or vice president. One in Algiers that he couldn't answer the question to when he was asked by the Algiers president of the Algiers Neighborhood Association. He couldn't answer the one question that she asked about that board that he's on. But anyway, so he's just going to be the new inductee to the New Orleans Political Crime Syndicate. He may not be now. He may not think that he is, but he is. All of these people put their endorsements behind him because they expect him to carry out their agendas, which is basically turning New Orleans into a socialistic city and getting as many federal funds as they can and run the people that own businesses here out of business. I don't know if they plan on somebody coming in and buying the businesses for like 50 cents on the dollar, 25 cents on the dollar. I don't know what's the long-term plan. My guess is that that's pretty much what they plan on having. And because 60 plus small businesses in New Orleans have closed in the last year. And there's more closing every day.
Do you think that's due to COVID also?
It's due to COVID.
A little bit of both.
Okay, so yes, but it's due to COVID, and it's due to the mismanagement of COVID. There's absolutely no reason why New Orleans should have stricter restrictions than anybody else except for New York and New York City and San Francisco. And LaToya is constantly trying to play off the violent crime that we haven't even gotten into, as all other big cities have that kind of violent crime. Yeah, well, New York has multi-millions of citizens, like over 6 million, maybe 9 million, I don't remember.
Yeah, I know it's big.
And San Francisco has millions of citizens. Los Angeles, well, let me give it to you this way, okay? Houston metro area has 6.6 million people living there.
What do we have?
We have 365,000. 365,000. Not even 1 million, not even a half a million.
And this used to be the #1 murder capital in the world, right?
Well, we're getting close there now.
Right. It's kind of wild.
I just made a post after reading a news story and listening to the news article, and we have had 470 murder investigations this year. We've had 206 murders, and 470 murder investigations. Or shooting investigations, attempted murder investigations. So, and also, they have been hiding the numbers because just now, Sean Ferguson tried to say that, right before the election, that violent crime was down. Crime was down in the city. Crime's not down in the city. This is the worst crime that we've ever had. Yeah. Even the LSU professor was on a news article lately talking about that. It's out of control.
Yeah, it's it seems to be getting as bad as it was back then, pre-Katrina.
Right. Well, that was a different story, but it's similar too, because all of those reasons, because of living in the French Quarter, is the reason why I ran for city council, because nothing was being done. I started calling Kristen Palmer's office in 2020, the summer of 2020, when I saw all of the criminal element coming into the French Quarter then. And it could have been stopped. It could have been stopped. But the problem is that LaToya defunded the police here in New Orleans. When I was being interviewed by another magazine at some point during my campaign, the woman, the moderator, stopped me and tried to say that, well, wasn't that when she furloughed the city hall? I said, yeah, but you know what? She might have furloughed city hall good, because the city hall, they weren't doing anything. Nothing was being done. They had a very long vacation paid. Yeah. So did the city council. Yeah. But guess who they didn't furlough? The criminals. and that you can't send home the police when we're already at the top violent crime city in the United States, you know?
Right.
We might have not been in the top 10, but we definitely were in the top 20. And it's just been getting worse because we're down 600 policemen since then.
Well,
she sent home first responders, all the first responders,
wow,
the EMS,
wow, yeah.
and firemen with no pay. When you send people home with no pay and no time frame of coming back, what do you think that's called? That's not called furlough. That's called defunding.
Right.
So those people went outside of the parish and found jobs and things to do and work for other people. And not only did we lose those policemen, but we lost the $60,000 per policeman that it cost to train them. Wow. And that's in the millions of dollars that we lost, that we've spent, you know. And Latoya's never had any respect for the police here, but as other cities have found that have defunded the police, that's not working for them, because crime just rises when you don't have policemen to help.
I actually found out from a few of my JP buddies that they are some of the lowest paid police officers besides the New Orleans police, which I thought was pretty crazy because, you know, a lot of people know, like, cops, you know, they don't make a ton of money, which is, you know, thankfully that they even want to do that job for the amount of money that they make. But to make, I think one of my friends told me it was still the pay scale was like since 1994 or something crazy like that. So they're still getting paid like it's 1994.
They get like $52,000 a year.
Yeah, it might not even be that, or maybe it's that, but that's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's pretty low when you're getting shot at.
Yeah, that's pretty scary.
Yeah, to put your life on the line when you have a family and, you know,
and then
kids.
they want to defund the police, which I thought was, I mean, my dad was a police officer for a long time, so it just doesn't make sense. And but people expect the city to change. And I don't know, man. It's
can't get on track until you start hiring those policemen back. My solution to that may have not been a viable one, but definitely I wouldn't know until I got into office. But I wanted to give them bonuses, substantial bonuses, to come back and create a new environment where they are respected.
Yeah, I mean, we need them.
Right. And if you have at least the city council members behind you, you know, we can't change Latoya and the way she acts, but if you have some city council members behind you, then at least you know you're doing a good job, you know, and people care.
Well, you're trying to do
you're
the
trying
right thing.
to do the right thing. And raise their salaries too, at least as much as everyone else is getting in the South. You know, I think they should have been raised to what Houston police make, which is pretty substantial.
Yeah,
and you know, we have the money. We have the money, and that's the problem with the whole city, is that the city council doesn't have the balls to stand up to Latoya, and they let her steal from the budget all the time for her little committees and her little pet projects and things, and that's where the money goes, because all of these committees that they make, I mean, for the city, even the city council members like Helena Moreno on the utility committee was a joke. I mean, she was supposed to be over the utility regulations, because we're like the only city that I know of that even regulates the electricity and power. And anyway, she wasn't doing anything. She wasn't doing anything. She was getting paid to be on a committee for not doing anything. Then she runs to the tower that collapsed into the Mississippi River after Hurricane Ida, and just happened to run into a reporter, whatever, and then she runs then. But why wasn't she there before hurricane season, which they should be doing this every hurricane season and checking to make sure not only the city council, or they should have a special committee for that or whatever, that goes and checks and makes sure we're prepared for hurricanes. I mean, that tower had withstood Katrina. What makes them think that they're going to withstand another hurrcane? You know?
I thought there was people to do that. Like,
they're not doing their job because it was a rust bucket.
Right.
Did you see the picture of it?
Yeah.
I mean, anybody could have looked. If I would have seen it, I would know it was going to be blown away. Yeah. And I mean, then the grid, they were supposed to work on the power grid, and they didn't. The Entergy, that's a whole other story. They're so corrupt. They made $1.4 billion in profit last year. The Entergy New Orleans is just New Orleans.
Okay.
How do they make $1.4 billion in profits during lockdown? I mean, you know, that's a lot of money off of 365,000 people.
Well, you think, is it because most people were home? stuck at home. You know, a lot of people use a lot of electricity. People don't turn off lights.
Yeah.
And things. I mean, but still, I'm not even justifying it for them. It's I get it.
But that means that they're charging people way too much money for their electricity.
Right. And I
And
thought
New Orleanians are being charged much higher than other people in other cities.
Yeah, when it's funny going back to what you said about the news earlier, how they barely post a little bit of national coverage.
Yeah.
We me and my wife, we were staying in I can't think of it. Where was it at? When we evacuated for a little bit, where we evacuated to? In Memphis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't caught a brain fart.
I understand.
And of course we were watching the news as much as we can, and man, they were like having news from like all over the world. It felt like, and I was like, no shit. So you saying what you said earlier, it's like, yeah, we pretty much do local. I don't even think I've ever seen like another, unless it was like a national emergency, would see any other type of news. So
Not going to.
Yeah, man. I mean, well, again, going back to the good old boy politics, it's strange because I talk to people while I'm doing hair every day, and we're aware of it, but nobody does anything about it. I mean, what can we do? And I think it's pretty awesome that you are attempting to try to make a difference and try to change.
It gets frustrating though, because there's not enough people, and we our government is made on the basis that we, the people, should be able to control our lives in our government. But the government has gotten so large and so out of control that it's difficult to get back under. And that is the case here. Everyone knows it's corrupt. Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, that's just the way it is.
Right.
Well,
I love when they say that.
Yeah. They don't understand
just the way it is. It's like, well, but why? Like,
that's why we have potholes that's been there for 20 plus years.
In front of $1 million houses.
Right, in front of $1 million. From $1, $2, $3 million homes. And after we got all the billions of dollars in FEMA money after Katrina, and where'd it go? I have no idea.
Not in the potholes.
Not in the potholes.
Maybe in somebody's pocket holes.
Not in the sewer and water board for sure, because they have the same old problems as they always had, which I had a solution to that too. And I'm going to try to see if I can facilitate that situation, because, our sewer system in New Orleans is based on Highland sewer system in Europe.
Okay.
And but it's over 100 years old, so it's time to upgrade and renovate it, modernize it.
Right.
And what they do in Europe is that they have river turbines, which is pretty interesting because they build the turbines into the ground and then a tributary from the river in there to power it.
Okay.
It's not like the old turbines, like the water paddles.
Right, correct.
The water paddles and things.
Yes.
It's built into the ground, which is pretty spectacular, because then not only could we possibly get a check back from Entergy as a customer every year because of the money that our taxpayers paid for tax dollars paid for the turbine, but we could the whole city could be powered by that. We could have enough water turbines that could power the whole city.
Right.
And that's a very viable option for us. We have the mighty Mississippi, the biggest river, the most famous river in the world besides the Nile.
Right.
And the most powerful river in the United States.
We're going to use her to create energy, free energy. But
and now everybody's jumping on the clean energy, and I've been saying that for a couple of years since I was looking that up.
Do you think they're going to do that? Because, I mean, just
makes too much sense.
Just like a lot of my buddies tell me, like, we need to power lines on the ground like other cities, and then it's like I don't know if we could do it or if we can't.
That cracked me up because there's a lot of people on Facebook talking about that, and they're like, oh yeah, well, let's just snap our fingers and put it underground. It costs money, and where do you think they're going to get the money from?
Right. Well, like you said, Well, you said we have the money, but again, like, where is it?
Well, I mean, Entergy has $1.4 billion in profits off of New Orleans. Entergy New Orleans has it, so why can't they invest that into it? The city is supposed to regulate Entergy, and so they need to be regulating them, and they need to stop letting them get away with things like they said, well, we're going to, if you don't give us our way and you're going to make us pay for everything ourselves, then we're going to take all of our toys and leave New Orleans, because they're the only Fortune 500 company. Well, who gives a shit?
Right.
Who gives a shit, because they're stealing from New Orleans, residents of New Orleans. Yeah. And another thing, going back to the corruption is Helena Moreno, was there campaigning. Well, we're not going New Orleans, the people of New Orleans are not going to have to pay for the repairs, and there's not going to be an upcharge or anything for that. Well, she, all of a sudden you didn't hear about that anymore. Well, after the Entergy went to the city council and said, you have these 4 choices, which all 4 of them are us not being involved in New Orleans anymore, and so you didn't hear anything about it anymore. Well, I read an article that was there for anybody to read, that she took $18 million of taxpayers' money, and the whole city's Entergy bill averages out to this much per month. And then they have the overage that they're going to start charging. Well, she paid them the overage for 5 months with $18 million. So it looks like there's no charge on your bill, but come March, April, there's going to be a big charge. It's going to be a pretty big charge too. $18 million charge. So divide that up into the amount of citizens who have Entergy bills, and you'll find out how much the charge is come March and April.
A lot of those hidden fees, as they would say.
Yeah. We're still paying for Katrina.
Yeah.
And that was a 30-year fee. This one, they want it to be a 15-year fee. So it's going to be pretty large.
And so who benefits from that?
Entergy. Entergy. Just like that's another thing is that first of all, they built a power plant in the east. I don't know if you knew about that. Not many people knew about it until after Hurricane Ida brought it to light. Hurricane Ida brought a lot of things to light that were already in causing problems, but people, were polarized by it because they didn't have anything else to do but read, their phones. So it cost $260 million to build this gas plant for clean energy in the East.
Okay.
And to get the council to agree to it, which I don't know how many backdoor business meetings they had about this, but anyway, in the meeting and all, Entergy had actors go in there to make it look like they were protesting for clean energy and everything, and that supposedly swayed the council to agree to the taxpayers paying $260 million to build this plant. So the plant's been online this year, and the only thing the plant's done is create $7.4 million worth of energy that they put into their Entergy's main line, and it was sold to Mississippi and Alabama. So the people of New Orleans spent $260 million to build a gas plant that was supposed to come on when New Orleans went dark. It didn't come on for a couple of days because apparently they didn't give it a good enough line that was secure enough to withstand a hurricane. So I mean, it was ironic. It was made to power the city after a hurricane, but they didn't make it withstand a hurricane.
Somebody missed the memo on that when they were planning that out. They were like, "Hey, let's order some line, but not enough to withstand a hurricane."
Well, the city's been allowing the Entergy to get away without improving the power lines here and without burying some power lines that need to be buried. The only place that has underground power lines is the French Quarter and the CBD, Andre, and the CBD. Yes. Yeah. And so we were the last to go without go for the power to go out, which was at 9:00 at night when Ida hit. So, but we were also the last to come on because it took, well, not the last in the city.
Gotcha.
But the last in the quarter because people had power in the quarter, like I think on day 3, but we didn't have it for day 8 because we were in the first 3 blocks from Canal. And so, I mean, that's the only place that we have underground lines. And the rest of the city could have more underground lines if the city that wants to continue regulating Entergy actually did their job and regulated them. Yeah. But they let Entergy threaten them, and then they bowed down. So nobody's standing up to big old Entergy that's ripping off the people of New Orleans. And part of my campaign was give it back to the Public Service Commission, who regulates the utilities for the whole state. So why that would save New Orleans residents 15% per bill. Wow. If they gave it back to, or maybe 20%, it's at least 15%, but I think it's 15 to 20%. And then they would have a Public Service Commission who's supposed to regulate it. But this is New Orleans, and the more things that the government of New Orleans can keep in their pocket and fill their pockets with, they're going to protect.
That's what I just never understood that. Like you were talking about that gentleman earlier that was running. do you think like people start off wanting to do the right thing and then get swayed or turned to the other side, the dark side?
I do. I think that's how it is, and I don't even
like. What about you? You think if you would have won, which I wish you would have, but hopefully in the near future, like, do you think they'll try to start saying, "Hey, Vincent, come on, man, look the other way"?
Oh yeah, because I've read up on past councilmen who ended up going to jail because of being enticed in things until they did cross the line. And so I mean, but that's the reason why I wanted to run is to be. I kept saying a monkey wrench in the political machine. Right. To because I was not going to be the administration's best friend for sure, because I was going to be the one fighting all of these for the citizens of New Orleans and all of these taxes and all of these things, because underhanded things, because like we originally there was a old tax millage 0.025 cents in the French Quarter that got voted not to renew.
Okay.
So they put it on the back on the ballot for the primary election in a different way, because they were worried the people didn't vote for it because they were worried that LaToya was going to take it and put it in the general fund and spend it on things that it would be spent, that it should be spent it on, because it's supposed to go to the downtown development district. And so that's it sounds like a little bit of money because it's 0.025 cents, but it adds up. And so it adds up to $2.5 million for the first year. And people voted for it because they thought it was going to go to the downtown development district. Okay. And the downtown development district keeps the whole French Quarter and downtown area, the CBD, all of that clean, and the garbage picked up, and the little police force, the NOLA, the French Quarter police force, and all of that. And so anyway, what a lot of people don't realize, that don't read, is that she injected her one of her executive assistants, which that's another story. She has three. They make a total of $550,000 a year. Wow. That's it's over $2 million in a 4-year term. So that's because she's an idiot. So she needs 3 other idiots to tell her what to do, as much as she makes or more. Wow. Anyway, so she injected one of her executive assistants into the interim director for the downtown development district, which at first they voted 8-0 no. Then a couple of weeks later, somehow all of a sudden they voted 9. It was 8-1 or 9-0. Anyway, they voted him in a couple of weeks later. He has no skills whatsoever that has anything to do with the downtown development district. He didn't submit a resume. He didn't go through the entire hiring process at all. And the time that period that it was going to be is just 6 weeks. But she pushed so hard for that because that's when they were going to be having the hearing for $500,000 that she already stole from the downtown development district, and I don't remember where it came from. But anyway, you can Google it and figure it out. But also the first year of the tax millage that people just voted in that didn't want her to have it, she got him in there in the first 6 weeks to make sure that she did get that, and that's a total of $3 million she stole from the downtown development district. And that's stealing from the citizens of New Orleans, because now they're going to be complaining about the garbage. They're going to be complaining about the streets not being clean. They're going to be complaining about the police force not patrolling and everything. Yeah. It all boils down. And why does she need this money in the general fund? Because the general fund is where you can write a check for anything, any little thing, that's why it's called the general fund. Gotcha. So that's where money disappears and ends up, in whoever's account that ends up back in her account.
Yeah, because, let's face it. The quarter's starting to smell like shit again. It's starting to remind me of pre-Katrina, because they did a pretty good job after Katrina keeping it smelling really
right. That was Sydney Torres.
Yeah, and it's sad, man, because, I'm born and raised in this city, and to see it start to, everybody said this is supposed to be the best city in the world, and to me it still is. And post Katrina, it was starting to really make a come up, but I definitely feel like it's making a come down, and it's definitely sad, man. I talk to people all day, and they don't even want to live here anymore, like in the state.
No.
And it's pretty sad.
People are moving out in droves. People are moving out of New Orleans.
Yeah.
People are selling their homes. I have a friend making a lot of money selling people's homes for them.
Yeah. And it's sad, man, because most people move here from other cities because they've never been to a city like this.
Right.
And now they don't even want to. Now they don't even want to live here.
Well, what happened partly is after Katrina, the Visitors and Tourism Bureau did a really great job of bringing tourists into New Orleans, and that's what made the city grow, is the hospitality industry.
Right.
But you can't have just one industry controlling a city, But the problem with that is that I know this is going to be I'm going to be stepping on some people's toes and things, but it brought all these people in to see how beautiful the city was, and then they were living in places like California, New York, and other places that are like exorbitantly expensive.
Yeah.
Sold their expensive homes there and bought a home here for nothing.
Right.
And then that's what started gentrifying areas and making them more expensive for the people here to live. But it's also what changed the way that people vote, because they brought their own bad ideas that didn't work in their city and cost them money, and that the reason why they didn't want to live there. And now we have that issue stuck with our city here because we have those people voting.
What do we call that? Because I hear those terms, and again, I'm a suck at politics. I'm still learning, but I know a lot of people are moving from California to Texas. I hear they're doing that. So is there a term for that? Why would you move from a city that you already are voting for those laws and then vote for that same law in another city?
Well, because they're idiots. That's what it's called.
Why wouldn't you vote differently if you hated it? It's strange. It's almost like they're doing it on purpose.
They are, because they don't want to realize that they're the ones who made their city shitty, and now they're bringing their shitty ideas to a new city and trying to make it shitty too.
Wow. So that's not good, man.
It's like Dr. Phil says, if it worked for you, then keep doing it. And it didn't work for them there. It's not going to work for here long term. That's not the kind of thing. But, that's where our government's going right now. And that's why, I keep telling people you have to be vigilant. You have to know what's going on. You have to know your surroundings, because the government isn't doing anything to you. You're doing it to yourself and allowing the government to do it to everybody.
Right.
That's what's happening.
So what moving forward, what's your next step, man? What's your next plan?
Well, right now I don't have a plan. I'm just giving it up to God and trying to live, one day at a time and take it easier, because I've really stressed myself out trying to make myself do everything. But I definitely want to keep on top of this new council and new city government. They hired like a whole new city's worth of government.
Wow.
And all new. I think only two previous council people, and then the rest are new council members.
Right. They cleaned house.
Yeah, they did.
Fresh
start.
Right.
I don't know if it's
people's,
for the better
places,
or worse.
things. Right. Well, they changed the people, not the places or the things.
Right.
So how can people reach you if they want to get in touch with you? Can people follow you on different social medias?
Right. Yes, definitely. The easiest place to follow me on is Facebook.
Okay.
You can join our Take Our City Back NOLA page, which is administrated by myself and my friend Sherry Walker.
Okay.
You can friend request me on my page, Vincent Milligan, and you can also join my campaign page.
Okay.
Vincent Milligan for City Council, for NOLA City Council,
awesome.
District C. But I'm going to change the name of it. I just haven't figured out what name I want to change it to, and then still run from there. But I have to say, I think that that my campaign page was being shadowed by Facebook because of my viewpoints on things. Don't always coordinate with what Facebook likes. Oh yeah, because I mean, for a whole year I stayed in Facebook jail. I've only been out of Facebook jail in a whole year for 4 months, and I don't even know how that's happened. I have kind of changed the way that I address certain things, but yeah, they were definitely hounding me for a year and putting me in Facebook jail for things that I didn't even really do.
Right.
I mean, it did make sense. Like last year, they put last November they put me in Facebook jail because I got a really bad sunburn in Miami, and one of my friends said, "Oh, what you do is you put use vinegar to take the heat out, and once you have all the heat out, rub olive oil into your skin, and you can get tan. Then you get a tan the next day."
Right.
And I'm like, well, he's coon ass and Native American blood in him.
Right.
And
so
I said,
he's got good skin.
Right, he's got good skin. And I said, if I was coon ass and Native American like you, that might work. But since, I'm white, that doesn't work on me.
We burn. We like crawfish.
Right. So then that was a
no-no.
That was a hate crime according to a hate speech according to Facebook.
What did your friends say?
Oh, he's like, what? He couldn't believe that. And I appealed it, and they wouldn't do anything. But the next time they did it, and I appealed it, they still kept me in Facebook jail, but I was able to share people's share people's posts. So then I could say what I wanted to say.
Gotcha.
And comment on people's posts. But I couldn't post myself.
No shit, man. It's a strange time we're living in, and not just this city, but a lot of cities.
Well, that's what I'm glad you're doing this, because we have too much censorship going on in social media, and this is a new platform, podcasts that people are getting more and more into.
Yes.
And I'm proud of you doing this. I mean, this is an amazing setup.
Thank you, man. I'm still working on it and learning, and but you should start one, man. We should I could show you.
I'm not gonna be able to do this kind of setup.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm getting a little crazy. I'm trying to be like the next Joe Rogan or whatever.
Hey, I hope you are.
But hey, man, if I'm sit at his table one day, that's what I told my wife. I don't really feel like I have the voice for this, but thank you. But as I keep doing this, I guess I'm starting to get used to hearing myself. I mean, I'm sure you didn't get used to seeing yourself on the council board, right? And next thing you know, I was like, holy shit, Vincent's actually doing that, man. That's wild. Like, I know this person.
Slow down my speech and try to enunciate more properly. And and I still don't have a good grip on that.
Like when we were learning with Rusk, right? Being educators.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm sure you learned a few tricks from that took you.
Yes. I learned a few tricks and things, and I learned a lot, and I had a great time, But I'm glad it's over for now. I mean, I knew I wasn't going to win. I've only been here 5 years, and I got less than 500 votes. But I also probably spent the least amount of money on my campaign, because I definitely wasn't going to go into debt running a campaign. So I can't say that some people tried to bring me down afterwards, sending me nasty messages saying, that I was a loser or whatever. But I didn't win, but I definitely didn't lose, because, the fight's still going on.
Well, if you have haters, that's a good thing.
That's what I said. I love a hater.
Yeah.
I love a hater.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good. Yeah. When you have haters, you're doing something right. You're
paying attention to me.
Into somebody's under their skin.
Yeah. You're paying attention to me. Shit. Work on yourself. So that's a good thing. No, man. I'm really happy for you. It definitely inspired me to do other things on top of the things that I do now, because you're kind of like the it shows people hope that like a normal citizen can like stand up for what they believe in.
That's what you have to do.
Yeah.
That's your civil duty.
Thank you for that, man.
Thank you.
And I'll definitely look forward to having you on another episode, hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah, man. Lots to talk about.
Yeah, and look, you don't need a setup like this. You know, when I first started acquiring these things and purchasing things, my friend was like, "Man, you just need a microphone, a headset, and a computer."
Right.
Well, I barely know how to use a goddamn computer. I'm kind of like, Joe Rogan, like I need a young Jamie to help me. So I've had to learn a lot of these things, but you really could reach a lot of people with just simple,
I mean, some start out, I know people who started out, they had radio shows now, and they just started out with a microphone and a computer, you know.
Yeah. So
You
it's
just have to find the right venue.
I think your future endeavors, I could see you doing something like this because you have a strong message and you definitely want to help, which is what we really need in the world.
Yeah, and you definitely inspired me by this. I mean, this is how, that's how I got on here because we were just talking about that. And you set it up and I'm like, oh, I'm jealous. I want to do that.
Well, we're always chatting back and forth and
Right.
just you telling me the things that you were working on. I was like, shit, man, this guy's doing, I mean, you're doing a lot more than me. This is nothing compared. Like you were trying to change and help the city, which I feel like now I feel like I have to do something because, and a lot more people should, but it's okay, man. One day at a time.
I wish I had this when I was my age. I would be a lot farther along,
Dude,
so you got a head start.
It's never too late to start, dude. That's what I think Joe Rogan only started like 8-9 years ago. I don't know. But Vincent, I appreciate you coming on today and I look forward to having you back soon, man. Good luck with everything. Thank you for attempting to try to change the city, and I'm sure you made a difference. Where can people follow you at on that page again? Because
take back our city, NOLA.
Okay.
And you join that page, and we can go from there.
Yeah, you have about 500 members right now. You told me.
About 500 members,
good.
And also we have other groups that we associate with. So it's like actually ends up a few thousand.
Right.
Yeah,
networking
with.
Right.
And because there's a few other groups that break off that the residents and businesses against mandates and all kinds of other things because this whole city government has affected the money in the economy of not only the city, which they've gotten the money from the federal government, but individuals.
Right.
And you just can't do that,
Yeah, man. It's a bunch of corrupt bullshit sometimes.
Right.
But
thanks for having me on,
hey, man,
Eric. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate
My
it, buddy.
pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. All right.
Sounds great.
Thanks, guys. Thank y'all for listening, and hopefully y'all got something out of it. I know I did, and we'll see you next time. Take it easy.